Well, hello, my name is SherriAnneDuffy-King, and I am the writer of the title of a Crucified Innocent series. And this book is called Secremthia Rewind Part 2, Book 7, alright? You will not understand what's going on with this series if you don't start from the very beginning and work your way through. It gets really good, I promise. Alright, let's get going, shall we? Now, my beautiful friends, we are going to discuss Chapter 1, Screams, alright? Mina screamed hysterically as the stranger grabbed her. When Mina opened her eyes, Mina realized that she was safely in her room. What? How did I get here? Her words only meant empty, cold air. She rolled over and flipped on the table lamp. Next to the lava lamp sat a journal. Mina opened up the cover and read the note that she had never seen before, and behind it was a picture of Mina and Wesley, hugging and smiling. Mina couldn't believe that this picture captured moments, for them, hours before he was abducted. Mina unfolded the note and began to read the writing. Mina, deja vu, be leery. Mina folded the paper and sat back in the folds of the journal. She pulled the covers off of her legs and hopped off the bed, her bare toes touching the ice-cold floor. Mina tiptoed across her dorm room, passing the mirror that had the bloody handprint stained within. She opened the door and entered the bathroom. Mina undressed herself and took a steaming hot shower. When she turned off the water and opened the curtain, something flashed before her eyes, taking her by surprise. Mina grabbed her towel, wrapping it around her, and stepped over her claw bathtub. The black shag rug carpet meeting her skin as she brought her feet in contact. Mina felt goosebumps across all over her skin as she felt like everything was on repeat. Mina walked over to the bathroom sink, placing both of her hands on each side of the porcelain, uncertain if she should take the washcloth that was resting on the spout or use it to wipe away the foggy mist from the glass. She reached her right hand for it, holding it gingerly in her palms. As she lifted it up to the glass, the phone rang, startling her and making her drag the washcloth across the surface of the mirror. Mina dropped the washcloth in the sink and rushed out of the bathroom toward the phone, picking it up. Hello? Mina glanced at the clock. It was pretty early in the morning. Mina, it's good to hear from you. Last time I called, you weren't in the dorm room to answer your phone. Look, I changed some shit. Everything's a bit askew right now. Don't worry. Today is your redo, alright? Sorry, I need my water. Mina pulled the receiver from her ear, looking at it, feeling deja vu. Mina, are you still there? The voice was starting to panic. Yes, I'm here. Who are you? The voice paused and then started up again. Mina, I guess when I reset everything you forgot what you helped me do. Mina, it's me, Riley. Remember to be cautious, alright? Also, I have to leave for a while. If you are curious and in need of answers, look in your journal. Also, trust your gut feeling. The memories will come back to help guide you through each situation, but they will be excruciatingly painful. Also, I'm going to call Donna. Mina felt dumbfounded. Donna, who is that? Riley spoke up. How could I be so dumb? Of course you wouldn't remember. Emily. Mina felt an uneasiness cross over her form. Why would you call Emily Donna? Riley spoke once more. I have to go. Thomas changed her name after she saved his life in 1969 at his dance with Vicky Zano. Mina looked back at her phone, unsure of what they were talking about. What? Mina didn't reveal any of this with... Mina, don't reveal any of this with Donna, alright? Because if Kit finds her, all is lost. She has to redo today as well, and if our day goes as planned, Aneo will have to fix things for us. I love you, Mina. Also, happy birthday, Mina K. Nabel. Tell Donna happy birthday from me as well. Mina felt butterflies in her stomach. Happy birthday, Riley. The receiver hung up, and Mina was left to with a dial tone blaring in her ear. Mina pressed the hang-up button and then dialed her phone. Hello? The voice on the other end of the phone was groggy. Hey, this is Mina. Can I come and see you? Mina's therapist, Nicholas Williamson, gulped, then answered. Of course, Mina. Come on by. I can get you a prescription of Zyprexa refilled for you. See you soon. Chapter 2. Are you thirsty? Then the receiver clicked off. Mina set it down on its base. She sighed in relief. Then she picked up her pills, taking her Zyprexa dosage. Mina grabbed her leather jacket and her helmet. She walked out the door, locking it before she left. As she reached outside, she hopped onto her 1967 Harley-Davidson. She placed her headphones in her ears, then placed her helmet on her head before she started the engine and her Pat Benatar album. 7 Days the Hard Way. Mina revved her engine and drove to Dr. Williamson's office. The building was dark except one lamp light in the front area. With relief, Mina descended her bike and opened the kickstand, then removed her helmet and placed it on the handlebars. Mina knocked on the front door. Dr. Williamson opened the door, ushering her into his office. Mina sat on the brown sofa, watching him get into his desk, then go over to the water cooler and fill a glass up with water, handing it to her. What brings you here, Mina? On an early Saturday morning. Dr. Williamson smiled at her. His blue eyes were smiling. The light from the lamp showed he had dark brown hair with white streaks throughout his head. Under his glasses he had baggage. He looked like he hadn't slept for a long time, but he smiled as if everything was good for him. Dr. Williamson, I had another nightmare again. Then after I took a shower, some crazy stuff has been happening to me. I think the medicine is no longer working. I was so scared. He got up from the desk chair, walking toward her. Then he sat next to her. Mina took the glass of water from him, then set it down on the coffee table in front of her. Please, Mina, we have known each other for over 10 years. Call me Nicholas. Mina smiled, unsure of herself, but then got up to go. Nicholas placed his hand around her wrist, holding her from leaving. Mina glanced down at his hand and then looked back into his eyes. A shock scattered throughout her form as memories of another timeline flooded her subconscious. Oh, Nicholas, I don't feel so well. I better get going. Nicholas felt her head. Mina knew nothing was wrong with her, but she needed to escape. Images and red flags were going haywire within her. No, Mina, you have a fever. You better stay and wait it out. I don't think it would be a safe option for you to drive home like this. Mina remembered how her limbs went limp in another timeline, but in this timeline she was sober, and it was because she had done something different. She hadn't taken the water. She looked to the other side of the coffee table and saw the two men, the blonde which reached for her, blood dripping from his hands. Still sorrow filled his eyes. Next to him stood the dark-haired man. The words of Nicholas were fading in and out. The dark-haired demon spoke to Mina. His voice was like chilled silk. You are mine. Both apparitions seemed to not acknowledge each other, as if they were on a different plane of existence. What? Mina stuttered back toward the demon. You heard me, Mina Canable. You are mine, and I will take you now. A chill ran up Mina's spine. Deja vu. She looked over to Nicholas. He was pulling her to lay down on the sofa and trying to undress her. No. Mina pulled herself away from Nicholas. Mina screamed, but it came out as a moan of despair. Yes, I will have you. The demon retorted back to her. She shook her head. Mina had been saving her virtue for Wesley. He was her heart. Suddenly, Nicholas was climbing on top of Mina, naked. The apparitions were gone. Then Nicholas froze. Mina could see her breath. Then Nicholas changed into a demon, smiling down at her. You cannot fight this. You are mine, and I will have you. It was written. Mina looked up at him. Don't let him take my virtue. If you do, I will not be yours. I will be a notch on his bedpost. Don't let him do this to me again. The demon smiled. Again? Then he disappeared from her view. Nicholas was left. Mina could see behind his blue eyes. There was a fight between his soul and demons, and just as expected, the demon lost again. Mina's heart sank. Nicholas returned, smiling down at her, unsure of what had happened. He lifted her legs apart and tried to enter her. Mina snapped. She forced her knees to meet his privates and watched as he doubled over, falling again. Mina stood up, grabbed the blue vase of daisies and shattered it upon his head, then leaned down to pull his head up so their eyes could meet. He was dazed and confused. How fucking dare you think that it's okay to try and drug me and rape me? And guess what? This time I didn't drink your drugged water. You will never rape me ever again. Ever. Mina dropped his head, hearing it thud hard against the ground. She walked over to his desk and grabbed the phone, dialing the police. When they showed up, she explained everything and showed them the glass of diluted water. The police took the contents and took Dr. Nicholas Williamson, handcuffed, out of his office. Chapter 3, Donna Emily Summers. Mina straddled her Harley and kicked the engine on and rode it toward the rising sun, headed to Emily's house. When she arrived, she parked her Harley next to Emily's early model 1987 Chevy Cavalier. When she arrived, she hopped off of her Harley and headed toward the door. She rang the doorbell a couple of times, then was greeted by Emily. "Hey, Mina, what are you doing here?" Mina brushed her fingers through her dark curls. "Hey, Em, tonight's the dance. Let's head over to the Baker's Pavilion. Get some new rags for tonight." Emily nodded her head. She smiled wry. Closing the door and grasping onto her keys, Mina decided to leave her bike and let Emily drive. They both got into Emily's 87 Chevy Cavalier and headed out. Chapter 4, Baker's Dreams. Mina went into the changing room with the dress Emily tossed her, along with the lace pumps. She closed the stall doors gingerly and turned to the hanger and bench. She started to undress herself, noticing that as she slid her clothes off her flesh, the bruises from her therapist were lingering on her surface. Mina took the dress and started to slide it up her slender curves and toss on her pumps. She looked down at her feet and then started to scan up toward the large wall mirror. Her image startled her. She wasn't the only one in the reflection. A little boy was banging on the inside of the surface, silently screaming at her. His palms were blood-drenched and dripping down the interior of the glass. Mina dived down toward the mirror, trying to grab the reflection of the little boy. "Wesley!" she cried hysterically as she clawed at the image. Suddenly, the image was gone, and in its place was the explosion of blood dripping down the whole surface of the interior mirror. Mina jumped back in shock, landing on her ass, legs to her sides. Her hands were wet. She glanced down at her palms, blood dripping off of them. She was so stunned that she glanced back at the mirror as she noticed two clean handprints with blood sitting elegantly around the clear prints. Then the blood started to drip in a way that unsettled Mina. With no streaks, the blood washed down, disappearing beyond the glass. Mina glanced back down at her palms, noticing that the blood had disappeared. Stunned, Mina grabbed onto the bench and climbed back onto her feet, brushing herself off. As she glanced back into the mirror again, behind her stood W. He still looked great. He started to walk forward, blocking Mina from all around. Mina felt surrounded as the changing room went dark, and W screamed an almost unnatural scream that seemed to be surround sound. Mina dropped, covering her knees and shielding her head. Mina closed her eyes, trying to block out all the sound. The light flickered on, and Mina tipped her head and looked up. The dressing room was vacant and calm. She calmly brushed herself off, grabbing her stuff and proceeding to open the dressing room door. The click was loud. Against better judgment, Mina turned one last time to scope in the vacant room. A chill ran up her spine. Then she proceeded to look in the direction she was headed, walking into lips. Someone had grabbed her and kissed her. Trying to not let go, Mina pushed off of them, stepping back and throwing her palms up to meet stubbled cheek. The sting bit her hand back. She glided her eyes up and over the man, realizing it was W. She stepped back and then stepped around him. As she continued to go around him, he reached her for her wrist and held tight. She turned to him, their eyes meeting. "You are mine," W said in her head, the devilish grin of his playing on his lips. Mina ripped her hand away from him and ran, stumbling into Donna on her way out of the baker's pavilion. Mina grabbed Donna, and they ran out. Nothing but smoky haze danced on the pavement. Chapter 5, Frosty Eyes, Maroon Tears. Mina stepped onto the dance floor. Everything was wondrous. Everyone was coupled up. Arlene and Eliza dressed in pink chiffon matching dresses as their boyfriends Taylor and Tom guided the girls to the dance floor. A beginning of a song that Mina loved started to play. Mina felt a tap on her shoulder as the man in the mask asked her for a dance. Being polite, Mina took his hand and was led into the center of the dance floor. His arms gave Mina chills as she followed his shoulders up to his beautiful frosted eyes. She felt like she was in a trance as he started to sing the song that was playing over the speakers. Nobody But You by Blake Shelton and Gwen Stefani. Chills ran across Mina's shoulders, dancing about her spine. They swayed back and forth as the song played. The tenor of his voice and the hint of a devilish grin made Mina's heart flutter. Pure vexation drenched in honey. As the song slowed to the end, he reached down with his lips and captured hers, heat sizzling between their bodies. His hands pulled her closer, catching her palms against his firm chest. Mina's mind was fogging up, but by the last note, she was able to recover. She pushed W from her. He acted like her rejection hadn't fazed him. She took a step back and turned to walk out the double doors. Mina noticed H standing by the refreshment table, reaching his bloody palms in her direction. Her heart sank. She needed air. Pushing the heavy doors, the hallway was a lot cooler in temperature. Mina brushed her palms through her hair, taking a deep breath. Then a realization came to Mina. Uh-oh. Someone knocked her into the lockers, pressing her against the lockers. Mina felt the air leave her lungs and the pain shooting through her body. She looked up at the man holding her. "Dr. Williamson?" He smiled down at her, then sniffing her neck. Mina, you smell like you are wet for me." Fear enveloped her body. She stayed silent, watching him carefully. "'Tis a naughty trick of you to have me arrested in my own office. You cannot escape, Mina." He took his tongue and started to lick up Mina's collarbone to her left earlobe. Mina whimpered uncontrollably. She closed her tear-streaked eyes, letting the salty tears cascade down her cherub cheeks. He began to slide his free hand down her body, recording her curves. Then, when he found the edge of her dress, he slid his fingers below the material and back up her thigh. Mina turned her head to the right, feeling disgusted at his touch. His hand found her lace panties as he took his fingers and explored the interior of them. He was almost to her flower when he was ripped away from holding her. Mina dropped to the floor, her legs collapsing beneath her. She looked up and saw her therapist getting his ass handed to him by another man in a black suit. After the chaos simmered out, the man looked over to her and offered her his hand. She placed her fingers in his palm and he helped her stand. Her eyes glided up his body, resting on his otherworldly eyes. Even his breath was sending frost her way. "My sweet Mina, you belong to me." His words sent shivers up her spine. W pulled her in tight for another kiss. This kiss was different. Mina saw visions pass over her corneas. She remembered everything. Mina shoved W off of her and started to run toward the women's restroom, and then she locked the door, trying to get away from everything. Mina stepped away from the bathroom door, feeling the cool material against her fingertips as she brushed them across the surface of the door. A cold draft spilled up the back of Mina's dress. The lights in the bathroom flickered as Mina continued to step backward. The air in the room dropped in temperature, leaving Mina's breath to be easily noticed. The lights shut off completely, leaving Mina in complete darkness. Mina grabbed the pager from her purse, pulling it to her line of sight, clicking on the buttons in the side on the side of the little black button on the side of the contraption. The little screen lit up in a soft green as words in a phone number passed from right to left. But instead of actual words and phone number, there was an unknown language text that flowed in front of her eyes. Mina heard footfalls come closer to her from behind her. Hot breath danced on the nape of her neck. Mina went to scream, but before she could grasp onto the situation and let her lungs take control, and a hand grasped around her mouth, and suddenly darkness overcame her. Chapter 6. Who Are You? Mina's eyes fluttered open as she was slowly waking up. Everything seemed like a blur. Her head was woozy and her mouth tasted like dry cotton with a hint of strawberry aftertaste. Mina slowly lifted herself up out of the sofa, glancing in her surroundings. Behind her sat huge bay windows along one side of the wall, or the long hall. Majestic waterfall of light was cascading in through the pane. Mina stood up and her legs felt wobbly as she stumbled to stay balanced. As if she stepped through time, she could see a beautiful auburn-haired woman, bound and barefoot, walking against the backdrop of the windows, the light igniting her hair into a majestic halo of fire. Mina watched the woman walk just in front of her and then turn left, which would, be Mina's right, and being pushed into a man's arms. The scene was extraordinary, but what else caught Mina's attention was a handsome man with emerald eyes peeking out from the side of a column at a distance. His eyes never left the red-haired woman. Mina turned back toward the woman who was pushed around like a rag doll. Nothing made sense. "Excuse me, can any of you see me?" The image vanished in front of Mina. She stepped backwards a little, shocked, as a man stepped through the vanishing image in front of her. He grabbed Mina and pulled her from tumbling backward. Mina almost screamed, but the man stopped her from crying out. "Hush!" Mina was surprised at how fast she obeyed, as if she had no control over her emotions and mannerisms. The man guided her back toward the couch, and he sat across from her on a black steel throne. "Where is she?" Chapter 7. Reasoning for Madness. Mina opened her mouth to speak, but could not form the words, and all that came out was a cracking whisper, as if she had a frog stuck in her throat. The man lifted his finger as if beckoning Mina to come to him, but instead of her moving, he was using his magic. He pulled the couch that she was perched up on to scoot across the floor. His impossible blue eyes glinted and his dark curls swaying as the airflow picked up. "Where is she?" Mina cleared her throat, trying to hold in the cough. "Who?" The dazzling man scooted to the edge of his seat, more intrigued than ever. "Donna Emily Summers." Mina's head began to get dizzy. She got a flash of the phone call with Riley, explaining an impossible situation. "I don't know who that is." A smirk danced across his lips as he moved so fast across the small path to be seated next to Mina. He grabbed Mina fast by throwing up his fingers to both of her temples. The zap of his skin sent images through Mina's head. When he released her, she looked at him. "Que muerte." He turned to smoke and moved back to the throne. "The one and only, sweetheart." Mina smiled as her eyes went black, and a strange voice came from within as she blacked out. Good, because things have changed and will continue to change. Riley has you on her hit list. Then Mina's body went limp. Very strange. Riley, huh? I best warn the Flugon. Mina's eyes opened as she was being carried off. Where am I? What have you done to Wesley, and why have you taken me? A grumble escaped Kit's chest as he climbed the stairs to the tower suite. Mina Campbell, it's funny you should ask. You are in the Black Castle of Shonizar, in the world of Embala. Wesley was a cost that I paid homage to when Donna decided to dishonor our accord. So it's her fault that he was split. I took you to find her, but I seem to have found her, and now I must travel through time to my dame. Mina's or Teal's Tears welled up in Mina's eyes, some escaping her eye crevices and sliding down her cheek, drenching his shirt. It's funny you smell like Donna. Your DNA is extraordinary. As Kit sat her down on the bed and started to head to the door, Mina spoke up. Can I go home? Kit flipped around after closing the door, locking it from within the room. No, Mina, you cannot leave. Until I have Donna, you must stay. Kit burst into smoke and took a turn around the ceiling around the room, and then vanished through the mirror in the corner, leaving Mina in darkness. Mina had never felt as alone as she felt at that moment. She stood up and crossed the floor to the window, glancing out at the night sky. Above her head stood a planet that was immersed in water. Mina got a flashback of when she was little and listening to Riley talk in her sleep at their sleepovers, and how Donna and Mina was always amazed at the imagination of Riley. Chapter 8, Lorelei. Creak. There's a creaking sound, just so you know. Mina turned her head to the sound. Chills danced up her spine. The mirror that Kit vanished through earlier was moving. Mina slowly walked over, noticing that a foot was touching the ground. Above the foot, the mirror was moving as if it were water, shifting and releasing a person. The water planet's light glinted off of the woman that stepped through. Her eyes were demonic, and her hair was a deep auburn, her smile glinting with a pointed teeth, shining against the dark cherry lips. Her body was completely white, including her tattered night shift. After the woman was completely in the room with Mina, her body made unnatural movements with cracking noises. Mina stumbled backwards, landing on her ass. The woman moved fast and was soon bent across her, leaning inward. Well, hello, Mina. It's been a long time since we last saw each other. My name is Lorelei. Let's get out of here. I feel that you will be safer with me. Lorelei touched Mina's temples, and the sheer shock sent electrical waves dancing across Mina, making her wheezy. In a trance, Mina stood up and stumbled toward the mirror, but when she lifted her hand, she realized it wasn't her hand. It was Lorelei's hand that she was moving toward the surface of the glass. Mina went to scream, but Lorelei hushed her. Mina, shh. How else do you think you are leaving this castle? Kit has it spelled. Only him and I can go as we please. Yet he isn't aware that I can pass through it. Think a nail. Mina screamed as she wasn't but trapped within Lorelei's body. Lorelei touched the glass, watching it leap from the frame and take hold, pulling Lorelei in. Dun 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 dun. That's not a part of it. Chapter 9, Questions. Within moments, Lorelei and Mina was in a dark room with mirrors lining the walls, red velvet cloth dancing on each of the frames. There was one that caught Mina's eyes. It was a crushed blue dirty velvet cloth. Mina pulled herself from Lorelei to her feet and walked over to the cloth, her fingers about to reach the cloth as a pale hand grasped her wrist to stop her. This one you don't want to see. Let's go sit down and get you caught up on what's going on. Mina pulled her hand back to her side and nodded. She turned and followed Lorelei to a set of blue velvet recliner chairs sitting. Take this. It'll clear up what you don't understand. Lorelei passed the journal toward Mina. Mina felt the leather of it in her fingers. There was a symbol on the cover of two twins screaming in agony, pulling away from each other, with their hair attached. The image intrigued Mina. She brushed her fingers across the image, and suddenly, as if the floodgates had been released, memories for Mina that were mixed were coming before her eyes. Mina's head snapped upward toward Lorelei. Recognition set in. I have a lot of questions. Lorelei smiled and sat down, ready to answer. Go on, sweet lullaby. Mina shuddered to the sound of that nickname. Can we start from the beginning? Why? Lorelei leaned back, resting her chin on her knuckles. It all started with a feud of two demigods fighting over the love of one woman. Tragic love stories like that never end well. She sacrificed her body and soul for one, and the other so that Nemesis wouldn't die. Stockroast killed her, and that set Nemesis and Stockroast's battle. Death ended their lives. Stockroast's body disintegrated. Nemesis' head became Skull Waterfall. Nemesis is now a Flugon in Rovgon River. Amelia, Queen of Cornople, was cursed to be barren. So she heard that a Flugon could grant her a wish for a child. So she spoke to Nemesis about having a child. They agreed to the terms. The cost would be for Amelia's grandchild to be given to Nemesis. Because Queen Amelia was greedy, she could care less what happens to her daughter's daughter. King Caleb found out. There was a fight, and Amelia was turned to stone and spent generations on the helm of the Ecuadorian siren. But Riley woke up Amelia. Then Riley destroyed Amelia along with the ship near Amthia. Amthia Omnarchs ate most of the crew. The child Amelia and Caleb had grew up trying to thwart the destiny of her unborn child's fate. King Reed helped. The child's name was Ariana Evie Trinity Bridgewater. She was always trying and then failing. Her last motion was to take the place of her child as the chosen one, but after the battle was done, Queen Ariana settled down and got married and had decided it was safe to produce. She thought she had twins and that one of them had died during childbirth, but the only one who would know what really was going on would be Lucinda Lynn Bartholomew. The time switch never affects her or the ghosts of our past. The story was really intriguing Mina. She scooted closer to the edge of her seat. Where do I fit in? Lorelei pulled her face from her knuckles and snapped up her fingers, then blew some smoke at Mina. Another set of memories flashed through Mina's mind. Oh. How do I help Wesley? Lorelei stood up, reaching for Mina. Mina followed without hesitation or question. You remember when Kit told you to sleep with W and then Wesley would be whole? Yet it backfired and W took control of H? Mina nodded. She grimaced at the thought of betrayal. Mina, Kit told you the truth, but not the whole truth. You are supposed to sleep with W, but you have to sleep with H at the same time in order to unite them. Then you will find Wesley, but in order to do that, you have to get a special piece of a puzzle from Ariana. She will be the only one who can help you get the trinket. Lorelai yanked the blue crushed velvet cloth from the hidden mirror. I'm sending you to her, but not to the Ariana from your time. I'm sending you to her as she is cleaning up the battlefield. Tell her I sent you. Lorelai touched the mirror and the glass liquid trailed up her arm. Then Lorelai touched Mina's forehead, zapping her. Chapter 10, Unexpected Adventure. Mina woke up in the cabin on the ship. She stood up and opened the door, unsure of where she was, glancing back briefly to see a kitchen with bags of onions and other food provisions. Mina ran into a young cabin boy. Excuse me, do you know where I can find Evie? The young boy smiled at her. Follow me, I can take you to her. Mina followed behind, feeling her palms getting sweaty for meeting a woman whom she knew nothing about other than what Lorelai had said. The boy and her passed another boy as they headed toward the door. Knock. 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 Rustling sound could be heard from underneath the door. The door opened up and Mina saw a woman whom looked like Lorelai. Excuse me, this girl would like to speak to you. Evie stepped out from the door, closing it behind her. Hello, my name is Evie. What is yours? Mina felt awestruck. My name is Mina K-Nable. Lorelai sent me to you to get help. She said that you were the only one who could help me. Evie shook Mina's hand and then turned to her door, opening it up. Aiden, could you please turn on the lamp and get a couple of chairs ready for us and our guest? Evie invited Mina into the room. Mina noticed how Aiden looked disheveled. What can we do for you, my dearest friend? Mina sat down. Lorelai sent me to you for help in finding a special gift that could help me reunite my love Wesley Harrow. Kit Muerte has split him in two with help from the flu god Nemosai. Evie sat down, worry overcasting her unique eyes. Mina, may I touch you? Mina nodded as Evie touched Mina's temples. A shock overcast her eyes. Oh. Memories and flashes transferred from Mina to Evie and Evie to Mina. As Evie removed her fingers from Mina, she placed her hand on her mouth. Oh, Aiden, I have 3 daughters. How is that even possible? Mermaids are only meant to have 1 child, and royalty has twins. But I was given 3 little girls? Lucinda. Evie got up and rushed to the door of her room, pulling it open. Behind the door stood Lucinda Lynn Bartholomew. Lucy, how is this even possible? Lucinda stepped into the room and sat down on a chair near the roaring fireplace. Evie, your existence was not meant to be. Amelia made a deal for you, so I guess Aneo tossed in a stipulation. Mina felt unsure. Can you help me? Lucinda smiled and reached for Mina's hand. Lorelai rescued you so that you could finish your quest to reunite Wesley, but Riley gave you another chance. I brought Donna back as well. Evie looked over toward Lucy and then back to Mina. I have 3 daughters. What are your names? Mina looked down at her feet and then back toward Evie. Mina K-Nable, Donna Emily Summers, and Margaret Riley Elena Weilers. Lucinda was the one who said their names. Does Reed know? Lucinda stood up and stared at the fireplace. No, Evie, Reed isn't aware of his daughter's existence as of yet, and he will never know that there were 3. Evie, you're not just a mermaid. Because Amelia wanted you into existence, Aneo granted it. But he gave his beloved daughter to bless Amelia. Evie, only seraphs have triplets. Mina stood up. How are we triplets? We all three look completely different. Lucy turned to Mina. Mina, seraphs have triplets, but you three are not full seraphs. You are each half. Hence why you each look like bits of your mom and dad. But how is that even possible? I have parents. Riley was abandoned and Donna's parents died in a car accident. None of this makes any sense. Mina, it all makes sense. Aneo has given you a pseudo-identities. Have you never wondered why you felt like you never belonged in Belvedere? Why every male of the opposite sex has severe attraction for you three? You are all chosen as the chosen girl. Your mother took the brunt of the abuse to keep you all three safe, but in the end, Trinity can complete you all. But we need Jude. I'm gonna stop this video here. I just looked at the whole next chapter. It's long. But I will continue this in the next video, alright? I love you. Have a great day. Bye-bye, my beautiful friends.